Please make welcome Cowboy Ron.
Little information I want to talk about tonight, and thank you for being back. It really means a lot to me. Send your friends too. We like to get some more, make the party a little bit bigger. It goes without saying that our hearts and prayers for both me and my family goes out to the victims, 67, I believe, of the mid-air crash last night at Regan National Airport, which used to be called, now it's called the Ronald Reagan. Before that, we had Hoover Airport, which was built in 1933. And I believe I mentioned this. I'm still a pilot, but I just haven't flown in about 8-10 years. But I lived in Frederick, Maryland, which was about 25 air miles from National. And the experts forget that not everybody knows a lot about how aviation works, and I want to go into some of the things they missed. Also, let me tell you, I'm going to talk about the traffic. When I was a bus driver, I hauled George Washington University down right across from National golf course. It was on Haynes Point. Haynes Point is a peninsula. It goes about 2.5 miles. They have a 18-hole golf course, 9-hole golf course, swimming pool, tennis court. And I used to take the George Washington's tennis team, golf team down there and stand by. I usually went over and drove golf balls. It gets its name from Peter Haynes, a major in the Engineer Corps, and dredged it. He dredged that from the Potomac River. Excuse me. Incidentally, he was a major in the Army when he first built it, but during the Civil War he advanced to a major general. But even while I was down there, I could sit and watch the airplanes take off at National. And it would, they had so much traffic. This was in the 70s. They would just line up one behind the other, I believe on the same runway. It was basically going on a 270 heading. And I used to count how long it would take them to rotate. Rotate is when the front wheels come off the ground. And it would take 19 seconds. And now it takes a little bit longer because when the people got complaining about the jets making so much noise, so they don't take off with full power anymore. The same runway, the Air Florida took off, and the ice in the engine on the wings put it into the 14th Street Bridge. But anyway, what kind of traffic they have? Just if you cross the 14th Street Bridge or Memorial Bridge and look up the river, you can see plane after plane after plane after plane coming in. If they're coming in that way, they don't always come in the same direction. And they'll be spotted. Some of the planes will be on the left, some will be on the right, because they have to follow the Potomac River. Pilots love that. It's the only time they really get to do a lot of flying. And the reason for that is when they installed the high-speed jets in National at that time, the people in Washington, D.C. thought the planes should fly over Virginia. People in Virginia thought the noisy airplanes should fly over Washington. And so that's the settlement they made. Now, it is a control tower airport. When I had did my flight, it was called TAC, I believe, Terminal Airport Controller, TCA, Terminal Controlled Airport. And that means anybody in that area you have to be able to communicate with the tower. You have to follow their instructions. And some airports you may have it just depends how they administer it. But what they didn't tell you, a TCA, it looks like an upside down wedding cake. So the first part of it goes all the way ground and up, I think, about 30,000 feet. Anybody in there has to have permission. Now the second layer extends out further. And it might be, I'm just making this up now, it might be 1,000 square feet. So on that particular case, anybody has to be below that or above 30-some thousand feet, or else they have to have permission to be in there. Now when I had my little Cessna, I come around the Beltway. I was a new pilot and I was just really following the roads, IFR. And out on the Beltway, it extended out to the Beltway, but it was 1,400 feet, so I followed the 495 around at about 1,300 feet, so I wouldn't get in their airspace. Also in the area, you have a thing that's called a P zone. That's a prohibited zone. It's only, when I left DC, it was only 3 things. Washington, the White House was a P zone. You could not fly over the White House. Now, how you'd be able to tell that at 20,000 feet, I don't know. You couldn't fly over Mount Vernon. The reason that the ladies had made a prohibited zone because planes were flying close, showing it to the passengers. And of course, running up the road about airspace about 35 miles is Camp David, and that's prohibited. When I was a student, you were always instructed to stay on the east side of Route 15. Now, when I would sit there, and you got all these airplanes coming in those days, now business airplanes or private airplanes could come into national, but they followed 110. That's a highway that goes very close to the Pentagon. All kinds of helicopters in that area. You got a Fort Myer, not Fort Myer. Well, you have Fort Myer, but you have where the generals stay, Fort McNair. They have helicopters. You got weather helicopters. You got traffic helicopters. You got helicopters escorting military people. You got the Park Police have helicopters. DC, I'm not sure if they have them or not. But then you got some hospitals. So there's a lot of traffic out there. What do I think happened? I just think someone got distracted. Hopefully they weren't flying with those night goggles. It's too soon to really know exactly what happened. But with that much traffic, it's easy enough to make a mistake, get distracted for a second, playing with your instruments, and at 400 miles an hour, you just look down at the floor and pick up a piece of paper. You went a long ways. Something else I wanted to tell you about that. It was there's going to be all kinds of blame game coming out. What I feel like is no matter how hard you try, the brightest and most skilled person in the world is going to make mistakes. It's sorry. It doesn't bring that back to 67 people. But the air traffic controllers have always been hard to get as hen's teeth. It's a high-stress job. They've done some, I think Mike Wallace did a thing on it too long ago, and so they don't last long. And to pass unnecessary restrictions on people that are qualified to do that just to make political points, that was a mistake. And that may be a contributing factor why this happened. Unqualified people, or not enough of them there. We won't know that for a while, but the NASB, they're very good at getting to the bottom of accidents. They're very patient, very diligent, and very tenacious. Okay, I think that covers that. Something else I did pick up. The illegals got no surprise. Donald Trump has ordered the FBI to join in the pursuit of these crime breakers. If you come into the country, you've broken the law. You're illegal. Now, whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, I don't know. I really don't care. What I do care is they need to get out of the country, get back in line, and not cut in front of all the other people who's done their job. My best guess is now Trump is going to take all these 30,000 agents that Biden hired, and all of a sudden they're going to become enforcing the border law. They can do, they carry weapons, they can do paperwork, free up the other more senior officers to go out there. And don't forget the Treasury Department, they're the one that put Al Capone in jail. But I'm sure if they can do that, they can assist in getting our border made safe, getting our streets made safe, and it needs to be done as soon as possible. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I wanted to get this off my chest, and please come back and see us. Thank you. Happy trails.